Our next speaker is General Philippe Lavigne, NATO Supreme Allied Commander Transformation. In this capacity, General Lavigne is responsible to NATO's highest military authority, the Military Committee, for promoting and overseeing the continuing transformation of alliance forces and capabilities. Prior to this position, he was appointed as the Chief of Staff for the French Air Force, which was subsequently renamed the French Air and Space Force in 2020. He has also served as the Director of the French Chief of Defense's Front Office and the Information Director within the Joint Staff of the Armed Forces. Furthermore, he commanded the Kabul International Airport, overseeing a staff of 5,000 individuals representing 57 nations, and supervised the transfer of military responsibility for the airport to the Afghan civilian authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming General Lavigne.
So nice to be here in presence, huh? And in Paris, of course. So great. General Eric Hotelet, French Deputy Shot, dear Eric, dear Camille, dear Brian, dear John Michael, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for inviting me today to share my vision with you on the conflicts of the future, the impact of technology on future capabilities and concepts of the alliance, and about the role of ACT in their development. There is a general tendency to think about the character of future wars through the lenses of the present time. The wars in the former Yugoslavia, and especially in Bosnia and Herzegovina, between 92 and 95, led some scholars to argue that armed conflicts have shifted from primarily state-oriented conflicts involving a mass of soldiers and centralized top-down planning to a series of hybrid or low-intensity conflicts that involve private contractors, paramilitaries, and illegal sponsors. With the beginning of the 21st century, you may have heard many scholars claim that conventional warfare was officially dead. They contended that political and military leadership must adapt to the new reality, that no adversary wants to fight the United States and NATO in a symmetrically conventional fashion. Ukraine crisis and Russian annexion of Crimea in 2014 led us to believe that hybrid warfare will be the preeminent challenge, a way our adversaries will use to circumvent our conventional military power to achieve their political goals. And the Russian aggression on Ukraine brought geopolitics and conventional warfare again on the stage of the Europe soil. It also brought back irrationality in international relations because Putin's decision to attack Ukraine had been unprovoked from a rational stance perspective. Putin had also overestimated, and Camille, you say his power and potential to win in a quick war, and at the same time underestimated Ukraine. The determination of Ukraine's leadership and people to transform their armed forces with NATO assistance since 2014 and to resist Russian aggression since February this year turned out to be remarkable. This example shows us how difficult it may be to assess the potential of military power only by examining quantitative parameters. And while many things related to that war have been unexpected or wrongly predicted, this conflict serves as a reminder that sustained conventional war hinges on the availability of manpower, material, ammunition, and defense industrial capacity to sustain it. Hence, The conventional warfare is not dead, and the hybrid warfare may not necessarily be the predominant way of achieving gains below the threshold of an open conflict. And when we talk about the war in Ukraine, we must accept that there is not the model war we may hypothesize as a potential NATO-Russian war, but just a type of war. It is because we are aware that this war is specific to geography, history, strategic narrative, and culture, and economic factors, among others. It is also specific in terms of use capabilities, since we know that Russia has not yet the full spectrum of their capabilities, the full spectrum of their capabilities, nor has been engaged equally in all operational domains, for example, space. So, in our strategic thinking, we have to go wider and farther, and we do. This is why we say that our NATO warfighting capstone concept, the equivalent of the joint warfighting concept, is threat-informed but risk and opportunity-based. In this concept, we take into consideration all relevant current development in security environment, but we don't bound ourselves on any of them. This concept was endorsed by all NATO nations and take into consideration all their perspectives, but is comprehensive and inclusive enough to encompass them all and not to limit itself to any specifically. It is because we know that we cannot derive definite conclusions about the future security environment from current trends, no matter how convincing they are. This is why in our strategic thinking we want to go above and beyond. Hence, we consider the current developments in the character of warfare as one of the parameters, as one of the variables in the big equation. Regarding technology, and I want to talk about technology with a capital T, its development is certainly an important variable in the scanning security horizon. There is no doubt that technology has been a key driver of our society for decades, and especially since the pace of its development accelerating in the very last years. The recent decades have seen an unprecedented growth and acceleration of technological development, thanks in large part to the commercial sector. And it is especially the case in the digital domain, such as cyber, or artificial intelligence today, and quantum technologies, or cognitive warfare tomorrow. These developments have potential or are already being exploited by all kinds of potential adversaries, from terrorists to our peer or near-peer competitors. New technologies, which are widely available, have offered state and non-state actors a multitude of solutions to threaten and create potential disruption well above and beyond what was imaginable a few decades ago. The ability of potential adversary to challenge the alliance and its member nations politically, militarily, and technologically is growing. Technology is therefore an important driver of our adaptation and transformation of our capabilities. Arguably, technology, especially emerging and disruptive technology, is one of the key drivers of the transformation of NATO defense capabilities. Facing this challenge, the Alliance decided to adopt the NATO Edt Road Map, and since then we have focused in particular on artificial intelligence, big data, autonomy, space, quantum technologies, biotechnologies, human enhancement, and hypersonics, of course. I believe that we all agree that behind every successful defense enterprise there is a significant number of scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians, all working to ensure that warfighters have the best technology, knowledge, and know how to outperform and outsmart potential adversaries. The North Alliance The North Atlantic Alliance, born in 1949, the longest running political and military organization in the world, has been so far successfully fulfilling its mission thanks to its cohesion, its deterrence, but also its technical edge against adversaries and competitors. This is why it is paramount to connect the way we perceive our strategic environment to the most recent evolution of technological landscape challenges in order to ensure the persistence of this technological superiority of the alliance. Of course, there is always a way, there is always a challenge what to choose as priorities and where to focus. A British-Irish author and journalist, Rebecca West, observed that before the war, military science looked like real science, like astronomy. But after the war, it looks more like astrology. And when this is not because science or technology development fail, but because conflict usually develops in often unprecedented ways. The risk is, therefore, that we don't anticipate correctly the type of warfare, or operation we may be engaged in, and consequently don't have the right capabilities. But this is not only it is not the only challenge. Time also works against us. We have come to realize that we also must accelerate transformation in all areas while ensuring overall coherence. This requires us to adopt new ways of doing things and a more agile approach. Faced with different challenges and threats in our security environment, its complexity and variety of actors, technology development and other challenges that multiply the threats, such as pandemics or climate change, we knew we need a guide that would ensure us more proactive and anticipatory approach. That is the role of the NATO warfighting capstone concept developed to be our North Star concept. With this concept, we aim at bringing the greatest possible coherence to our efforts to cope with the future challenges. And while we think about 20-year perspective, it is not a fixed plan for the next 20 years, but the beginning of a process. And I'm aware there will be doubts and challenges along the way, and we will not always be able to come to definitive answers. It is because we are facing non-linear, complex security environments. Where to compare warfare development to physics, we are at the point where we have evolved from understanding the laws of kinetics and electromagnetics to entering the age of quantum physics. And we too will need to confront the uncertainty principle. To succeed, we need to factor in a great number of variables, including the changing character of future warfare, with its speed, blur lines between systemic competition, crisis, and war. We also have to take into consideration variety of actors, use disruptive technology, difficulty of attributing cyber threats and attacks, fighting in gray zones and hybrid warfare, engaging in multi-domain operations, and a coherent civil-military resilience, to name a few. This is why our warfare development agenda, which sets a plan to implement the warfighting concept, ensure we explore so-called warfare development imperatives to always be on track and ensure adequate adaptation. We comprehend that answers to complex issues due to causalities between the different variables and actors are rarely binary. Therefore, we are aware that we need to think in terms of trade-offs and in terms of effect and incremental approaches. Hence my motto, think big, act small and fast, as a steady way to success. We also know that to fully succeed in implementing our concept, we need to accept new paradigms when approaching challenges and proposing new solutions. Our attitude is vital in this effort. Or as Winston Churchill put it, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. It is about creating team spirit wherever and whenever possible. This is about creating a fertile ground for innovation, creativity, agility, and resilience within our organization. And WCC implementation and the successful adaptation of our military instrument of power to the evolving security environment greatly depend on our ability to maintain our capability and technical edge, but also on this team mindset. At ACT, we are aware that NATO's transformation must give us the means to face the new challenges. And to acquire these tools, we at NATO have to be innovative and fully benefit from science and technology. However, to achieve that, we need to assume fully the risk of failure also. That is something that is pretty counterintuitive for the current procurement processes, which have become rigid for some reason, and that is a fundamental enabler of innovation. It is interesting to note, for example, that the DARPA use a failure indicator that, if too low, prove they are not innovating hard enough. In ACT, we have a relatively long tradition of innovation through our science and technology program of work, which is executed, for example, by the Center for Maritime Research and Experimentation. And our maritime science and technology program of work is impressive, where autonomous system, artificial intelligence technology, and quantum sensing developed through this program are field testing during exercise and through sea trials. And the next one will be in Portugal for dynamic messenger. We also work shoulder to shoulder with the NATO Science and Technology Organization, and collaboration with NATO STO is essential to understanding the future and helping leverage knowledge and technology in particular. The lessons we learn every day, including from the war in Ukraine, for instance, the experimentation we conduct, the growing understanding we have of changing security environment, the emerging and disruptive technologies we monitor and harness, the partnership with nations, academia, and of course industry, all help us find the best way to maintain NATO's technological edge. ACT is also leading a set of parallel and interconnected efforts across the line to achieve, and I say hello to Manfred, the Chief Information Officer, to achieve digital transformation by modernizing and transforming NATO's digital capabilities, people and success and processes. This is actually one of my priorities, to provide the alliance with the ability to conduct multi-domain operations based on a digital transformation. By harnessing multi-domain operation, digital transformation must allow to understand better, to be able to decide faster, and thus to be stronger together. And along with this capability-oriented thinking, we in ACT are also exploring on how to improve our processes and our organizational culture. We think how to improve and make our acquisition processes more agile and faster by using, for example, digital twins to create simulation that can predict how a product or process will perform. And we also think about the whole NATO, especially on how to use different tools to facilitate agile and asymmetric thinking to enhance our art of common and support decision-making with new technology. To conclude, I would say that the role of science and technology is vital for the transformation of NATO military instrument of power, and to express it in terminology of strategy development. Science and technology connects the ends, ways, and means of our effort, as it is often part of all these three dimensions. In ends, it is about maintain our edge, and in ways, it is about how we use the technology, both in capabilities and decision-making. And in the means, it is about technology as tools and infrastructure. And as a roof over it, it is the team spirit. And that must ensure we are smarter, faster, and more creative than our adversary in using technology for our defense. Dear Science and Technology Organization, happy and huge 17th anniversary. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right, we have time for one or two questions. If there's anyone in the audience.
It was so clear.
All right.
Lieutenant Colonel Isidoro Marcone, the Sensor and Electronics Technology Panel Executive Officer at the CSO. In our research task group, we are focused on the emerging and disruptive technologies. And what do you see as the most impactful EDT that the Alliance should focus on for building future capabilities?
There are so many, and I think that the emerging and disruptive technology list is increasing not day by day, but almost year by year. And I think that, and it is why I'm talking about the team spirit. It's with Science and Technology Organization, with Brian, with Camille and David. I think he is going to be here very soon. David for EDTs, ASG. We are working together in order to understand what will be the next and what are the risks and the opportunities. Why not only in the technological matter or topics, but because we are also human and we have to educate our people in order to understand what's going on, for example, on digital. But today we have already to think about educating our people about quantum, to understand what's going on and what are the risks and what can we do to keep the edge or to protect ourselves. So it's something that, of course, we were talking about that with Brian. Quantum is something we are looking at. Biotech, we are looking also. I was in MIT, I think it's 2 months ago, and we discussed about also in Boston, and we discussed about also nanotechnologies, because nanotechnologies are something that we have, there are so many opportunities for us and for our warfighters. And the thing is that we are not thinking only about technology, but as I said, to the use of it in our warfare development. That's very important. And of course, there are technologies who are not enough matures, and so we have to continue to keep an eye on that. But there are technologies that are already matures, and the most important thing is to, in an innovation mindset, with some rules that has to change in order to implement, to test, to experiment it, to make them integrated in our warfare development. That's the two big aspects we are challenging.
Thank you, sir. This concludes. Do we have one more?
Yeah, one more.
All right.
Thank you very much, General. Pavel Zuna, Czech Republic. I'm former CSO director. You spoke about the ability to anticipate the type of warfare we may be engaged, and at the same time to be agile enough to transform using the capabilities we have. But frankly, looking at the NATO nations, we are not all nations equal in military capabilities we have. We have legacy systems, and most of those legacy systems are single-purpose systems. And to be agile, we need something else. We need the systems which will be multi-purpose, really agile, and it's not the run for next 5 years probably. We will need more. Can you elaborate on this? Thank you.
Yes, you know, it's always the balance between modernization and transformation. We need transformation in order not to be overwhelmed or to continue to get the edge in 10 years. But we need also the modernization of our legacy system in order to fight now and tomorrow. So it's always a balance. We need both of them. Then there is a common understanding with all the nations that we have to digital transform quicker than we expect, because with that, data is the key asset. We can be modern or non so modern equipment. You've got information, you've got data, you are collecting data, you are in the team, and we need everybody in the team, and to leverage either the legacy system and the new system, we have to share the data. And so I think it is why digital transformation is so important. Of course, to understand better, as I say, there are many sensors, but each equipment has to be a sensor, so we can implement and modernize our legacy system in this way. We have to reduce the famous ODA loop in order to decide quicker. And of course, we need for our more distributed command and control, we need, for example, artificial intelligence to make the analysis of this huge amount of data. And then we will be stronger together in implementing what we call the multi-domain operation, because even if we've got legacy system, they are operating in air, land, and on the sea, but there are also space and cyber, and we have to make their effect converging in one act in order to be stronger. So definitively, how to do that? It's to accelerate the digital transformation of NATO, and NATO is not only the body, it's the all nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Merci.